You're listening to Ask Dr. Jake. My name is Dr. Jake Tucker. I'm the owner and founder of Good Life Family Chiropractic here on the south side of Lincoln. And today we're coming to you with another message of health, hope, and wholeness. And I wanted to share a story with you today about a patient who's actually been a patient for a really long time of mine. And I just love the fact that she's back now. She found me because one of her friends is a patient here, goes to her church. She'd heard some of the things that she was doing here in this office, some of the changes that were happening with her health, being able to start to correct the scoliosis and get young again in her 80s. And she's like, that's for me. That's what I want. And this young lady is nowhere near 80, but she was starting to feel the years of riding horses and teaching equestrianism and just everything that comes alongside of that. She had damaged her back, she had damaged her neck, she'd actually had some surgeries, and she came to me and she kind of was upfront about everything, that she'd been to chiropractors, that a chiropractor had actually hurt her in the past, and she wanted to know if I was different. Really, she wanted to see how what I did was different. And I explain it a lot of times in a lot of different ways. What I do here is equivalent to spinal surgery. When you come for a consult with me, you're not coming to sit down with a general practitioner. You're not coming to sit down with a massage therapist. You're coming to sit down with someone that analyzes the spine with the precision of a surgeon. And I'm looking to see if your spine is off by that much, the width of your fingernail. If it's off by that much, we know it's affecting you neurologically. We just have to measure it. And so that's what we do in the office. We measure the effects that a misalignment of the spine is having on the central nervous system. And then we decide what the appropriate action is to fix that. And in her case, we had to deal with ligament damage in both the neck and the low back. And we did. We got her to a place where the back stopped hurting and the neck stopped bothering her. And like so many people that come through our office, life happened. She wasn't able to continue to make the investment in her spine. She only got through the initial phase of care, which is like getting through maybe the first year of braces. Let's say your orthodontist recommends that you have 5 years of braces and you do the first year. You expect some change. You expect your teeth to be in better alignment. Maybe they come together a little bit easier. And in her case, she did. She felt way better. Well, I don't see this gal for another 2 years. And she comes back to me, really during this pandemic, when everybody else is shut down, she's ready to go out. And she has no fear over a virus because of the things that I've taught her about keeping herself healthy. She just feels like she hasn't been able to afford to be able to invest in her health. And I tell people this all the time. You either invest in your health today or you pay for your sickness later. And this is where she got herself. She had stopped investing in her health, or at least in her spine. And what happened was that the things that we hadn't fully fixed in her spine that were going to take the same amount of time as braces to correct, ultimately, maybe not as expensive as braces, but ultimately take that same amount of time investment, it actually undermined what we had accomplished in her spine, that the ligament damage had come back because she hadn't slowed down with her lifestyle, that the damage to her neck had actually been amplified. And she actually went to a cheaper chiropractor, somebody who didn't specialize in correction. And it ultimately created more issues in her neck, even though he did a very, very light adjustment. He never took x-rays. His exam was minimal, and he didn't know how to correct the spine. He wasn't trained in it. And less than 1% of the chiropractors in the world are trained in advanced structural correction like we are here at Good Life Family Chiropractic. As a certified max living office, we do correction at a higher level than 99% of the chiropractors out there. There's only one office in the entire state of Nebraska that does it this way, and I'm here on the south side of Lincoln. And so we sat her down, we looked at her spine, we saw the changes, we did a re-exam, and I did my adjustment on her. And guess what? We actually made progress. The first adjustment made the world of difference to her, and she's been back under care and seeing huge changes in her life. So if you're sitting there and you have neck pain, if you have back pain, if you have headaches, if you have sciatica, like some of these patients that are coming through, whether they're listening to me on the radio or their friends are telling them about me at church or wherever you're at, call our office right now, 531-289-7100. And I'll sit down with you. I'll set up a time to sit down with you and have a consultation. We'll figure out your health goals. We'll figure out what we need to do to get you well. And from there, we'll start that process. That initial consultation exam, any necessary x-rays would cost you thousands of dollars in our medical system. I don't do that here. It's only $130. We work around the insurance companies, not with the insurance companies, so that we can make sure to keep care affordable for you, regardless of your insurance situation. And then from there, we set up a plan to make sure that you can afford care and that you can afford care for the long term so that we can address the cause of your health problems. Again, that number, 531-289-7100, that 50% discount, everything included, $65 for the first visit. That is available for you today if you call right now and set up your appointment for this week. So again, 531-289-7100. And Cindy, the gal that heard about me in her church, isn't the only one that's come back to me after years of putting off taking care of herself. In fact, I just had a gentleman, Tim, Kim, and he was one of my very first patients when I opened my doors here 4 years ago. So I moved up from Florida, where I was practicing in Naples, working with retirement communities, working on people probably 20 years older than the oldest person listening on to the show here in Lincoln right now. And just helping people correct their scoliosis and dealing with rheumatoid arthritis and degenerative arthritis, osteoarthritis, psoriatic arthritis, dealing with all these things that are a consequence of us not investing in our health over the long term. And I'm like, I'm ready to start investing in families. I'm ready to start to invest in people that have a future remaining, things to invest in the community, things to invest for the kingdom of God. And so we come up here, my family and I, and we set up our practice here on the south side of town. One of the first talks I give was out in public at this real estate company, SellState, here in Lincoln. And I sat down with the manager at the time, and we set up a lunch and learn. And I brought in some healthy options for everyone to eat. And then I gave this presentation about health and our healthcare system and how important taking care of your spine is. The things that I talk about on radio, if you're a regular listener. And they loved it. I think I got about 13 different patients sign up for an exam just from that one lunch and learn talk. And they came in, the very first person to come in, his name was Tim, and he did great work. One of the top realtors here in Lincoln, but he had a messed up spine, and he could tell. He knew that he needed it taken care of. He wanted me to take care of it. And so he went through the first phase of care, did about 6 months here in our office, did awesome, signed up for the second phase of care. And about the same time, he ended up buying a whole bunch of rental properties. And so he started to manage these. And so where his schedule barely allowed him to come in before, now it didn't allow him to come in at all. And again, the same thing. I told him, look, Tim, you have to be here to get well. You can't just put the money for it down. He's like, yeah, I know. I'm coming back. Well, 3 years later, he comes back, and because he's not taking care of his spine, because he's not investing in his health on the front end, he does something. And he did something really dumb. He tried to lift a stove by himself. And this is just not a good idea, no matter how old you are. But Tim is starting to get up there, starting to get a little closer to retirement age. And his back was already not in a good enough shape to be dealing with this. And I could have told him that. I could have said, hey, don't lift stoves by yourself. Get some help. Get some young guys. Get somebody who's taking care of their spine to help you out. But he wouldn't listen, because he was living it, not investing in his health. He was waiting to pay for his sickness. And now he's got a herniated disc in his low back. And granted, the first adjustment I gave him after we did an exam and we took new x-rays and we saw everything that was going on, saw how his spine was buckling on top of the herniated disc. The first adjustment made a world of difference for him. But he's going to have to take 4 weeks off of work. He's not going to make money off of anything that he's doing until his body heals. That, in the long run, is way more costly than waiting until there's a convenient time, waiting until someone gives you a second opinion that you like, waiting until something else goes on that just makes this more convenient, because there's never going to be a convenient time. With your health, nothing is convenient, but it is necessary. And I talk about this in regards to taking care of cars. We know that, an oil change is not necessary for you to own a car. Just like eating healthy food is not necessary for you to be born. right? You can eat crap food. You can not exercise. You can not get adjusted or take care of your spine. You can shower yourself in toxins. And it's the same thing as buying a car and getting the cheapest quality gas, getting the cheap oil, not even changing the oil, anywhere near what the manufacturer recommends, let alone what the oil change places recommend, never doing a tune-up. If you treat your car like junk, it becomes junk. Just the same way that if you treat your body like junk, it becomes junk. Same thing with a house. If you do not invest in, reshingling your roof, if you do not invest in upkeeping your siding or repainting the siding on your house, it will fall apart. If you do not do regular maintenance care to your house, it will fall apart. And the exact same way, your body will fall apart if you are not actively investing in the health of your body. And I had an example of a gentleman that came through like this, and he was actually asymptomatic. One of the policies that we have in our office is that if you're a patient under care here, that your family gets checked. They absolutely get checked. And I make it very affordable for families to get checked, making sure that everyone who comes through gets a full opportunity, regardless of their income or ability to pay, that we make sure that they know how well their nervous system is healing and functioning. So this gentleman, his wife was getting under care. He was doing great, or she was doing great. And we were able to get him back to get him a nerve scan and get him some x-rays. And we saw some severe irritation on his nerve scan, things that correlate according to the research produced by NASA engineers on this tool, this surface electromyography tool, that would correlate at a 95% rate with problems developing along that nerve pathway within 5 years. And we traced it back. We decided that we needed x-rays. We looked at his neck, and he had phase 4 arthritis in his neck. Phase 4 meaning that the bones were actually fusing together, that literally there was nothing that I could do to retrain and correct the curves in his spine. He had lost the curve at the top of his neck. It had started to go the wrong way. And in his low back, he had a phase 1 scoliosis, or a grade 1 scoliosis. And so I had to sit there and tell him, look, the scoliosis can get some correction. We can probably reduce that down from a phase 1, grade 1 scoliosis down to grade 0, where it's just a pre-scoliosis, where you'll be able to maintain it and not have to live with the effects of having a scoliosis. He said, I'm not having those effects. I said, how so? He said, well, I feel fine. And I had to tell him the exact same thing that I tell everyone. You can feel fine, but even just the weight of a dime of pressure on your nervous system, on the spinal cord, on the nerve roots, is equivalent to a 60% decrease in function going through there. And he said, well, why don't I feel bad? And I said, it's because you either got so lucky or so unlucky that it missed the part of your nerve root that feels pain. And so don't wait on this. Don't wait until you have grade 4 arthritis in your spine. Don't wait until the scoliosis starts to create pain. If you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, pick up the phone right now. Call my office, 531-289-7100. And I'm happy to set you up with a consultation, exam, and x-rays for a 50% discount for just this week. Thanks, guys. I'll see you again tomorrow for another episode of Ask Dr. Jake.